Okay, so I have a Lexmoto Venom 11,000 miles 660 on the clock. Is a 125 model, and I'm about to change the oil. As you could clearly see, the oil is over the full limit. So wherever you done the oil before, they overdone it. What I'm gonna use 17mm spanner to drain the oil. Use a slightly bigger one to actually replace the oil filter, which is this one here. And I will use as well a nice WU 10W40 oil for this motorcycle, is exactly as I needed 1 liter. So at this moment, to drain the oil, I'm just gonna cut it out 2 liter water ball on the nice plank of wood. And obviously the first thing to do is to start the engine to warm it up, and you're gonna see that oil of that will disappear. So let's start. So by going down through the gears, you can see that you can't see oil at all, and it seems like the oil is at the minimum level. But the reality is there is too much oil in the engine, and directly because of it, obviously you could feel oil burning when you're riding at the top gear, and essentially is obviously just going to cause the engine overheat. So, in the meantime, let's get ready. I'm putting the gloves on. The oil must be warming up quite nice and easy, and now I'm just about to drain it. To do that, I'll also switch the engine off, but let's get to it, because the time is essence and today is not the best weather to do that. Okay, so I am taking my 17mm spanner, attaching to this bolt here, and the oil should nicely leak out once I undo this bolt. So I can feel that the oil is nice and warm. It's leaking out gently. I'm inspecting just the end of the plug, just the end of the bolt. See if there is any metal attached to it, because also that would be indication of the engine wear. But so far it looks really nice. So we're just gonna grab some toilet paper to essentially clean that out. Okay, so now I'm just gonna quickly wipe it off a little bit, old oil away from my bolt that's plugging everything in. So it's sort of nice and clean now from all the old oil. And at this particular moment I could put that bolt to the side. Okay, so oil is still leaking out of there, but this is just for the oil to leak out. I'm still gonna want to change the filter. To do the filter, I will try to undo this bolt here. So to do this bolt here is going to be a bit of a tough one, not gonna lie, but at least I have appropriate tool to do so. So the longer the spanner, the easier it is to twist. Let's get right into it. There you go, we have a movement. Of course, with the movement we're gonna have a bit of oil. So I just move my bucket towards this side. Okay, and now we're gonna change the camera angle. So it's a bit awkward because of this old panel that I have. But now when I loosen it, it should move just nice and easy. So like, there you go, I could undo it just with my fingers, which is great. So as far as I know, it's going to be filter and the spring behind it. There you go, I can feel the spring pushing the bolt. Let's take it gently out. It's going to be a bit more oil leak coming out this way. Okay, so this is a nut. Just going to put the nut down. Take the spring out with the filter. And there you go, we have a spring and the filter on the top of it. So now I could actually inspect my filter and see what's been inside of my oil. So I could see some sort of residue in there. Hard to say if there's a bubbles or is actually something in there. But just to make sure, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a bit of a toilet paper to clean it, wipe it clean, the spring. Okay. So the spring is nice and clean now, and obviously now I'm going to use the new toilet paper tissue to wipe off inside of a bolt, because at the end of the day I don't want any of the old oil to be inside of it, just want a brand new oil. Alright, so now my actual plug is nice and clean. What I'm gonna do again, I'm gonna grab just extra toilet paper here, and now I just want to get right in there and actually dry out the old oil as well. Clean it all out, all the old oil. Check if there's any metal bits in there or anything like that, which is the main consideration when it comes to bikes, because then it obviously indicates some sort of wear inside, which is like clutch. I can really clearly see a tiny little metal bit in here, which is a sort of indication that my clutch is probably wearing inside. You can see on my glove bit just right here. Okay, so for this one I just leave it on the side of a toilet paper, just to double check what it was like with the filter. I could do the same. I could put the sort like a toilet paper around it, let all that oil drain off, and just see, or I could see any metal bits on there. So I could see something. Not really sure what that is. Maybe just some did get from bad oil change from before. Again, could we see any metal bits inside? Tiny bit. I can see another tiny metal bit here, which is one more time from my oil changes indicates that something in my engine is wearing down and spitting these little tiny metal bits. So not a huge deal, but there is definitely something to be concerned about it, and most likely it is a clutch. So my brand new filter, this is an old filter. Slightly different size, I would say. Definitely different size on the sides, but then again it should be just fine. Let's have a look. As long as it fits in the spring, which is fine, then it should fit just nicely inside as well. Let's have a look. Fits just fine as well. Brilliant. So now I could put this back into place, I can definitely feel that it's gripped. I'm just twisting with my own fingers to get that little bolt in the place. Okay, brilliant, that's done. So I can move the camera one more time just for you guys to see what I'm doing. So now I will try to just to put that plug so back tightly in the place. So I'm getting my tool. So by getting my tool under the nut, and I'm doing that tightly but not too tight. I'm not using too much force in there. I don't want to get the thread done too badly. But as you see, just moving a tiny bit there so it's tight. And now it's done. Alright, so this part is done. I'm just gonna go around what's happening here. So as you see, the oil is completely drained. Great news. I can see a tiny bit of the oil dripping, and I could see the oil plug in here. There you go, done it up. So I'm gonna undo this one. I do the same thing, which I'm just gonna clean with the toilet paper. I wanna get all the old oil out of there. And of course, now is the question, how I'm gonna pour the oil in. Because I'm gonna open this oil. Okay, so by opening the oil, it actually is quite really nice extension with the Castrol oil. Never seen with anything like else before like that. So I'm gonna try to use that. So first, what I want to do, I actually leave this nut out just for the moment, because I want to flush the oil out. So how I'm gonna do this is, I'm gonna undo my new oil. I'm gonna pour a tiny bit in, just a tiny bit. Okay, so pour a tiny bit oil in, and I hope that it will leak out through the other side, which what I can see is already happening. And now I'm gonna plug back in. So I'll plug the nut back inside, tighten all the way back with the hand. Once it feels nice and tight, I take my 17mm spanner and I'm gonna tighten it properly. Okay, so the nut is back in place, and now I can start filling the oil. Also, by filling in the oil, I want to know, do I have enough in there? I will be looking into this little sort of window, which shows me levels of low and full. So okay, let's start doing it. So I'm doing my oil again. I'm gonna start pouring it in. So you can see that the oil is raising now, and it's already there. Let's see how much oil did I actually used so far. So I haven't used much, is it? I haven't used not even half of it. But I could see something's happening over there in that little mirror. So I'll pour a tiny bit more. Okay, so you can see that it sort of climbs up and then lowers itself slightly down. One more time, I only use just tiny bit more than a half of a liter. So plenty of oil left to reach the 1 liter level, but most likely I ain't gonna use the whole liter. Just would like to remind you, you don't want to fill more than the full level. It's meant to be between this low and between the full, right somewhere between those levels. It could be in the middle, it could be slightly higher, it could be right in the full, but it can't reach more than the full. So we don't want to risk that. Okay, now I reach the full. As you can see, I use 750 milliliter oil for sure. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close the oil first. I will put the plug back into place. Okay, now it's into place. So I'm just putting that oil plug back inside now. It's not completely fastened, it's just back into place. And you can see that the oil level is very close to full. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn the engine on and I'm gonna rev it slightly just to get oil flowing around. So it's very clear, you can see there is no oil left inside, and that's due that oil circulates around and obviously is all inside of the engine. But once I turn the engine off, you will see that the oil gonna leak all the way back inside of the mirror, and that's when it's important to check the level of how much is actually inside. So I'm gonna leave it for a tiny bit. The oil should start dropping it down by itself. In the meantime, I'm gonna start packing it away. Okay, so now I can see roughly the actual level of the oil. Obviously it's on the low side. This is how much is leaked out once the engine is completely lubricated. So now I'm gonna undo that nuts again. Now I'm gonna top it up the oil just a tiny bit. So I have a tiny bit of oil left. You can see there is between a low and a full. That's all what matters. Okay, none of the engine will take more than 1 liter of oil inside of motorcycle one. So I think that's more than enough. Now I can fasten it. Okay, and I think that's done. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave my motorcycle standing here. As you can see, it's between the low and full level, which is the most important thing. And once I leave it here for slightly longer, then I will see the difference what it's like later. What I want to see, that if motorcycle stands here for a while, that the level full will not be over the top. That's the key thing, what I'm trying to achieve. By the end of the day, the oil is already changed. I only used slightly more than 750 milliliter oil. Any motorcycle oil not gonna take more than 1 liter anyway. So my motorcycle been standing for a while after the oil change, and as you see in the window, after a good 5-10 minutes of standing, the oil raised to just below the full level, and that's exactly what you want from your motorcycle. So essentially is about 800 milliliters of oil in there. Brilliant.